Hello everybody once again. I am so excited for what we're doing in today's video. As you know, a few months back I did some upgrades to my desktop computer. I put a brand new Seasonic power supply in it, and I put a much newer motherboard and much more powerful motherboard in it, the Asus X99 Deluxe 2. And I mentioned in that video that just doing those upgrades made me kind of hankering to get a new case for the computer. Not only for looks, but because the case presently in my computer is extremely not well ventilated. It's pretty much a hot box, and not the good kind of hot box. I really need to get a much newer and better and more better ventilated case in my computer. Well, in today's video, we are doing exactly that. After a lot of research and several months of waiting, because computer cases are pretty scarce right now because of steel sanctions and stuff, I finally got the new case that I want to put my computer into. And let's take a look at that. Here it is. This is the new case that I bought for my computer. It is the Fractal Design Focus G. This is a very popular budget mid-tower case, and I think it's going to suit my needs perfectly. And I got a little bit confident, and I bought it in a color that I've never even seen a computer in before, let alone owned one. But I bought it in the petrol blue color. So I'm really excited to see how this case looks, and I'm just itching to get my computer into this because I think it's going to be so nice. Normally this case runs like $60, $70, $80. I paid $130 Canadian for this because cases are so scarce, and just when I was starting to look into buying a new case, that's when the prices of cases skyrocketed and they've become unobtainium. I bought this on Amazon at one point from a third-party seller, which I shouldn't have done to begin with. And a month went by and it didn't even say it was shipped. And then Amazon just automatically canceled the order, and I wasn't charged, luckily, and the third-party seller was like, "Oh yeah, your unit was the last one on the ship and it was damaged," and I don't know, it sounds kind of far-fetched to me, but it just goes to show cases are really hard to get a hold of right now. You look and everywhere, and especially popular ones like these, they're just out of stock. And if they're not out of stock, they're like quadruple what the normal market value for them would be. So I had to hunt around. This one came from Newegg, $130, way more than you'd normally pay, but I really wanted to get this done sooner than later because my computer is freaking hot inside that old 12-year-old case. Especially my power supply. When I'm rendering a video or doing something intensive, the air coming out of that power supply literally almost burns you if you kept your hand there. That's how hot things get inside that case. I really need a well-ventilated case, and this is going to be it. Not to mention, this case is just going to look awesome. It's got a transparent window so you can see into it. And that brings me to another thing. It's not only the case we're going to take a look at today. I also bought some Cooler Master RGB fans. Because when I got that new motherboard set up and I saw that it had the RGB effects, it's like it flipped a switch in my head. I've never been into RGB stuff with computing, but after I saw it myself for the first time on that new motherboard, it just flipped a switch in my head, and now I absolutely want to get some RGB effects going on. So I bought some RGB fans we're going to put in this case. One's going to go on my Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo cooler. One's probably going to be on the back here, on the back vent of the case. Or I may put the other two on the top, actually. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along. But right now, my computer is actually uploading the last video, the video of the RCA VDT625, so I can't I can't shut it down and bring the computer over here yet, but we can unbox this new case. So how about we do that right now and see how it looks? I'm very excited. It's kind of funny, when I told someone that I wanted to get one of these cases, they said, no, don't get that case, get this case instead. And what they recommended to me was a full tower case that costs like $350. And it's like, okay, I'm not made of money. Also, I don't know if I literally have the space to put a full tower case. You know, money was a factor. I actually really wanted to get the Cougar Panzer Max, which is a full tower case, and it's like $200 or something. But the thing is, people say it's super cramped inside, like it only has the interior space of a mid tower. And between that and the cost, it's like, nah, it's not the best choice for me. I think this is the best choice for what I want to do. My criteria was basically, I wanted a window, I wanted good ventilation, it obviously had to fit my budget, and I needed at least two 5¼ inch drive bays. And this has two 5¼ inch drive bays. So that's good. Alright, let's open this thing up. I need a knife. This is actually the knife that cut part of my finger off. So we'll see if we can have a good relationship again. And I hope this isn't damaged. The box is in perfect shape, so I have hope. Ooh, I'm getting the first glance of that blue. How should I tip it up? Bringing in the foot. Oh gosh. Oh my god, the color is awesome. It's way better than I even thought it would be. Get out of here. Wow, color is way better than I even imagined. I thought it was going to be brighter, but it's actually kind of muted, and I love it. It's perfect. Let me get it out of its styrofoam prison here. Oh wow, that's awesome. The color is so much nicer than I thought it would be. It's awesome. Oh, heck yeah. I am in love with this already. Look at that. Oh, I'm so glad I picked the blue. I almost picked the gray. Oh, we got documentation. User guide. Alright. So we actually got our I/O and our buttons on the top. Power button, reset button, hard drive activity LED, headphones, microphone, and two USB ports. One is a USB 2.0 and one's a USB 3.0. And that's pretty much the biggest complaint about this case, is that it's going to use all the USB headers on at least my motherboard has one USB 2 header and one USB 3 header. But for using both headers, it only gives you one port. So I guess if you wanted more, you'd have to put in a drive bay thing and maybe a PCI Express card that gives you another header. There's the window. We'll keep the plastic on for now. That is awesome. Here's the back, and like so many cases now, your power supply actually goes in the bottom, and that's so that it can suck cool air up from underneath the case and blow it out. And right now, my power supply in the present case is sucking in hot air from the inside of the case and trying to keep itself cool with that. Not very good. We got thumb screws for both side panels. And it does come with fans. It comes with two front fans that have white LEDs. Oh, right, and the thumb screws are captive too. Very nice. Incredible. When steel prices are through the roof, this case is an incredible value. I cannot get that thumb screw off. Oh, ouch. Plastic on both sides of the window, that's nice. There's the inside. We get our two fans with white LEDs, our two drive bays, power supply cavity. We get two 3.5-inch drive bays right here, and there's actually space, I believe, on the other side of the motherboard carrier for a 2.5-inch drive. So my SSD can go there. Greg 2.5 can go in here. We have vents on the top for fans to go. And there's actually a little filter in here. And let's see, how does this work? Well, I'm sure it'll be in the user guide. So it looks like if I take these screws out, the filter will come out. And that's how you would clean it. So you'd have to remove your fans in order to remove the filter. And I believe this fits both 120 and 140 millimeter fans. The ones I got are 120s, I believe, so they'll use this smaller set of holes, which they have thoughtfully drilled here and into the filter housing as well. So it's all set up for either size of fan, which is good. There's our USB headers, our front panel button and light headers. And it's designed so that you can tuck all your cables in behind here, which is super nice. Apparently the implementation of that isn't as good as some more expensive cases, but it's better than what I've got, which is a case with absolutely no thought of cable management in mind. There's the fan cables. We get a little box of something here. Let me see, what's this? What do we got here? We have a ton of screws and zip ties. We have lots of screws. So these must be for the expansion card bays. And these might be for drives and the motherboard. So they give you all the screws you need. So you have matching black screws, which will look awesome. So we'll use those. Zip ties for cable management. Well, cool. I am in love with the color of this thing. That is awesome. Oh, the bottom has a filter as well, and that is clipped into place here. So if I wanted to remove that, you just kind of flex it, and then you can get it out of the way. Okay, cool. so there's that. I guess I'll finish up what I need to do on the computer so I can turn it off, bring it over here, and we'll start moving everything over. I'm so excited! Here are the fans I bought. Cooler Master Sickle Flow 120A RGB. 3 of them. These were like $50 on Amazon, so pretty good value. And they're addressable RGBs, and they're compatible with all the standard ARGB specifications, including Asus Aura Sync, which is what my motherboard has, which means I'll be able to control the colors of the fans, along with my motherboard from Asus's software, which I have installed. Yay! Baby's first RGB, so bear with me here. I don't know all the vernacular and all that stuff. I've begun putting things together in the new case. I decided to do it off camera so that I can be careful and not have to divert my attention to talking. Also, you guys have seen, you guys know how a computer is built, so, and if you don't, there's a million videos already, so you don't need to watch me build this, but it's coming together pretty well. I think the cable management on this build is going to be tight, and I'm pretty excited for that. The case has a lot of provisions for cable management. The rat's nest stays on the left side, but altogether it's coming along well. I think this is going to look so amazing. The contrast of the black and the blue, and then mix some RGB with it, I think this thing's going to look absolutely amazing. I've preemptively removed the fan from my CPU cooler so that I can remove it from its mount and then mount one of the RGB fans, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. It's a good while later, and I've just hit a bit of a snag. So first of all, I had a change of plans, and then I had to abort that change of plans. My change of plans was going to be keep the CPU cooler's original fan on it and put the RGB fans here, here, and here. Well, I discovered that with the optical drive installed, you can't put a fan there. And if I move the optical drive to the bay below, the power connector for the optical drive bumps into the motherboard power connector, and I could have forced it, but I really didn't want to risk breaking something. So what I've done is, I did end up putting an RGB fan here, and up there, and this space is just going to be blank, which, fair enough. I have a bad habit of putting stuff on top of my computer anyway, so not having a fan here means I'm not going to be choking out a fan by having this vent covered. So that's one thing. The other thing, I effed up. I thought this motherboard could accept addressable RGB devices because it does advertise the Asus Aura system, but it doesn't support addressable RGB. It only has the standard 4-pin RGB header on the motherboard. So that means that I can't plug these fans, I can't plug their lighting into the motherboard directly. Luckily, when you buy these fans, Cooler Master does include a little controller that they plug into, and the controller has a button on it, so that you can, you know, choose between various RGB effects. So I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do, unfortunately. I was looking forward to being able to control the lighting effects, you know, right from the Asus Aura software, but that is not happening. Oh well, oops, guess I should have done my research better. That's okay though, we'll work around it. It's the next morning, and I think I have everything here all set up. Got my expansion cards in, just my video card and FireWire card. And everything's in here, everything's hooked up. what I decided to do with the fans was this fan's connected to the CPU option header because, you know, it's moving air in the same direction as the CPU fan in, so might as well have it help the CPU fan with its workload. This fan up here is connected to chassis fan 1, and then the front fans are paralleled with a splitter and connected to chassis fan 2. I got the RGB portion daisy chained into the little controller they came with, which you can't see, it's buried in there. But something I didn't realize until I looked it up online, there's a little 2-pin header on the controller that you can wire to your reset switch. So I've wired my reset switch to control the ARGB controller. So that'll work just fine until someday, years down the road, I get a new motherboard that hopefully has its own ARGB header. I looked up, I did a quick Google to see if there were like ARGB PCI Express cards that, you know, you could control via software in Windows. But I didn't really find anything. But that's alright. This should work just fine for the time being. Cable management got a little bit difficult in the end there. There were so many wires being run behind there that I actually didn't have room to keep them all, especially when you got really thick ones like the motherboard power cable going on. And it was actually a little hard to get everything tucked such that I could put the side panel on here. And it is bulging just a little bit, but I think it's gonna be alright. You can see I got some cables poking out there. That's okay. Hey, on the whole, still looking pretty damn good. Other than that, the only thing I'm unsure about, I don't know if I have all my drives connected to the SATA connectors they were in before. I mean, it doesn't matter for the SSD and for the optical drive, but the only thing I'm unsure about is Greg. I'm pretty sure Greg is connected to different SATA ports than before, and I don't know what the RAID controller is going to think of that. Come to think of it, I should have backed up my RAID array before doing this move, but I will hope that the RAID controller is smart enough to recognize the drives even though they're on different SATA ports. So all that leaves is setting this thing back up. I haven't moved the desk setup around yet because remember, this is going to be on the right-hand side of my monitors now, so we can see inside it. But I don't have that ready yet, so I'm just going to set it up on the left side just to make sure it boots up and everything works. Alright, I don't know if I have all my peripherals plugged in. I can't tell what's for the PC and what's for the Mac. I haven't removed the side panel protective film yet, but let's hit the power button. Do our little smoke test. Oh, oh, heck yeah. This is gonna work out just fine. I love it. All the fans are working. I can't tell if we're booting up. I can't make it out. Chassis intrude. Please check your system. Fatal error. That's not a fatal error. System halted. Why? What's the code? The code is 78. So I'm gonna have to check and see what that means, I guess. All the fans are working though. That's good. I can see these front ones are working. Alright, I figured it out. I think probably what caused the chassis intrusion to detect was just from the fact, apparently it'll trip it even if the hardware changed. So like my card used to be in the upper slot there, or my GPU used to be in the upper slot, now it's in this slot, and of course some of the drives are in different SATA ports and stuff. So I just had to hit the clear CMOS button and that cleared it. But the funny thing is, it worked the first time, and I was able to get into the BIOS and everything. But then after rebooting, the chassis intrusion tripped again. And I have no idea why. So what I've done now is I went into the BIOS and went into the settings, and I have disabled chassis intrusion detection. So that should solve that. Also, I just want to point out something really cool. Once again, this is probably a really basic things that all motherboards do now, but once again, I spent half my life growing up playing with 486s and shit. So this stuff is just so novel and so cool to me, but it's alerting me that my card is in this slot, but it says for best performance I should have it in the number 1 slot. So I guess I'm going to be moving it back up to the number 1 slot, which is fine. So very good to know. So I'll do that, and then we should be rocking and rolling. Alright, we're in, which means this thing's finally all done and working. Now, there was one other hang-up that I had to deal with. Windows wouldn't boot. It would give me a blue screen of death saying inaccessible boot device. So obviously my SSD was in a wrong SATA port, which I couldn't remember which one it was in, but I had it plugged into one of the ones down here, which are not managed by the RAID controller. And I actually had to move it to one of the ones up here, which are managed by the RAID controller. And the SSD is not set up as a RAID disk, but it is managed by the RAID controller, meaning a different driver is needed to actually use the disk. And so that's what was going on there. But I got that fixed. And boy howdy, this thing is looking amazing. So now what I need to do is put the side panels back on, which means fighting with the rat's nest of cables I got going on here. And then it's going to be rearranging the desk, which means I've got all this video equipment that I need to get out of the way, because this thing is going to go over here so I can enjoy that lighting. And then the video equipment's gonna go over here. And I don't know how I'm gonna manage my speakers and my stereo amplifier. I don't know how I'm gonna do that stuff yet. But I'll figure something out. Well, just sitting here, I did just learn something. Apparently, I don't have enough thermal paste on my CPU because I'm running Prime 95 right now, and it's hanging around 65 degrees, which is fine, but if I push up on the heatsink, the fans immediately slow down, and the temperature goes down to, we're at 57 right now, 56, and if I let go, and the fans are starting to speed back up. And we're up to 62. So I'm going to have to take that heatsink off, reapply my thermal paste, but also make sure the heatsink is secured well enough. So I'll shut this thing down and do that. If I have enough thermal paste. I don't know if I actually do. Well, I have come upon another setback, although I have created a temporary workaround for now. I removed the heatsink to repaste it, dug out my tube of thermal paste. Turns out there was actually very, very little left. So I went to put the heatsink back on, and wouldn't you freaking know it, one of the screws broke in two while I was putting it back on. Wasn't even screwed in that tight while I was doing it. I was only like halfway through screwing it. One of the screws just sheared right in two. Oh, frick. What the heck am I gonna do? I did some Googling. Some people said that if you contact Cooler Master, they'll send you spare parts. But the screw is on the X bracket that this thing comes with, which the X bracket's a pretty big part, and I think I'd need to get the whole X bracket because The screws are like held onto it with clips, and they're not like C clips, they're like clips that go all the way around, and I don't know if it would even be possible to put in a new screw and get that clip on. Anyway, so I'm gonna have to contact Cooler Master, see if they'll send me a whole X bracket. If they can't, I may have to buy a whole other cooler, which sucks hard. And let me tell you, it's times like this that make me feel really incompetent with PCs. Anyway, the workaround I have right now is that I found a screw that fits the threads, and I screwed in that screw, not the whole way, just to the point where that leg of the X bracket is the same height above as, well, you can't see it, but that leg of the X bracket. And it's gonna have to do for now, because in a week I've got to edit a TV show on this thing. I mean, I've got the Mac, but the project file on the Mac is very old, so I'll have to back up my Premiere project onto an external drive in case that screw decides to pop out, which I hope it doesn't. But that's going to be my workaround for now. I have no idea how bad or dangerous or absolutely idiotic that is. You guys can yell at me in the comments, or tell me I'm a genius, if that's a genius little fix there, but I'm guessing it's not. Okay, well, that sucks hard, but there's literally nothing I can do right now. But other than that, I got the other side panel back on. All that's left now is one of the many fun parts is peeling the protective film off of the other side panel here. So without further ado, let's cue the 70s porn music. Oh, heck yeah. That's gonna look excellent. So I'll get this side panel on, and then it'll be rearranging the desk over there. First of all, getting all my tools and crap out of there, then moving the video stuff there, and basically rebuilding the whole setup. And it is 10 months, one apartment move, and 40 pounds lost later since I filmed the last scene of this video. And everything, I don't know what I can say. Everything has just been so perfect. I love this case so much. It has worked out really, really well. I got some dust collection going on. Tells you how much this computer runs. You know, I don't know if anybody actually thinks that redneck cooler heatsink fix I did with the random screw that I used. I don't know if anybody thought that was super terrible, but all I can say is it must not have been too bad of an idea, because that temporary fix ended up becoming semi-permanent. It held this cooler in place for 10 months. I just fixed it just now before turning on the camera. I did get a new X bracket from Cooler Master, which I'm very appreciative of them for. And this thing is fixed now, repasted. For anybody who wonders what thermal paste I use, not only for this, but for everything I've done in recent videos, like with the old Socket A computer, and even before that with refurbishing the neglected workstation, everything that was repasted, I use Arctic Silver 5, just because it seems to be what people recommend most, so that's what I bought. It was actually a little bit of a tumultuous process getting a new bracket from Cooler Master. Through no fault of theirs, I think. I think it was, for the most part, just a really slow shipping process. It was in the thick of COVID, after all. Um, but I contacted them on their website, the Cooler Master Fan Zone, I think it is, and I made an account, and I wrote them and gave them the serial number of my cooler, and I'm like, hey, one of the screws on my X bracket broke. Is it possible to send me a new X bracket? And they got back to me and said, yes, you can send a new X bracket. And then I waited for over a month, and an X bracket didn't come. And when I went back to the ticket to, let them know if they could give me a status update because the bracket hadn't come, they closed the ticket without asking me or verifying that it eventually came and everything was fine. They just closed it of their own volition after like 2 or 3 weeks. So, I found that kind of disconcerting. So I actually opened a new ticket. I said, hey, I spoke to you guys before. Here's the old ticket number. The X bracket never came, and you guys closed the ticket without verifying with me that it came and everything was good. And they got back to me and said, oh, we're sorry, must have gotten lost in the mail, or I think they said maybe it got stuck at the border for some reason because they were shipping it from the United States. And she said, we'll send you another X bracket. Same thing happened. A month went by, no X bracket came. I decided slightly earlier at that point to go back to the ticket just so I could let them know that I was still waiting, and they closed the ticket on me. Once again, not without having uh, verified with me that it came. So that kind of ticked me off. Um, and at that point, the temporary fix was working, and I was just like, you know what, screw it. I'll save up some money, and maybe I'll buy a liquid cooler. Before I bought, or no, it wasn't before I bought this cooler, but it was when I was buying this case. I really, really entertained the idea of buying a liquid cooler with RGB fans. And I almost did. I really almost did, but I think I'm glad now that I didn't, because I don't think a 240 millimeter cooler would have fit. It might have fit if I moved the optical drive down, but even then, maybe not. So I might have only been able to get a 120 millimeter cooler, which, to be honest, this Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo probably cools better than a 120 millimeter liquid cooler could. This is such an excellent air cooler. So I just said screw it, and the temporary fix was working, so I just left it because I was tired of dealing with it. Well, another month goes by, so like probably 2.5 months since I opened the first ticket. 2 X brackets came in the mail on the same day in different packages. One of them's here, and now I guess I've got another spare X bracket. So it all worked out. I don't really like Cooler Master's system of just willy-nilly closing tickets without verifying that this problem has been solved, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. But everything's worked out, and yeah, all I can say is I love this case. I am 100% happy with my decision to purchase this case. I think it was exactly what this computer needed. The ventilation is so much better. It's really versatile, and above all, it looks damn cool. There are a couple of limitations to the case, just due to the nature that it's a mid-tower case and not a full tower. Like I just said, you've got room for a 240 millimeter liquid cooler or a radiator of some sort here, or just 220 or 140 millimeter fans. But if you have something in the upper drive bay, and possibly even in the lower drive bay, you can't use this slot right here. The ability to shove all the cables behind the motherboard, between the back of the motherboard and the other chassis here, really nice. However, the space is just a little too tight. You can see here I've had to bring a bunch of cables out here and just hang out here because I simply couldn't get the other side panel on with them there. Likewise, there's the space on the back for the for a 2.5-inch hard drive or SSD, which I did originally use, but of course my SSD died a few months back, and so I've actually replaced it with two SSDs in a RAID 1 configuration. These SSDs are 160 gigs. They are hilariously old. They're 12 years old. And I imagine they're very worn out as well, because I think these are retired server drives, or retired drives from some sort of enterprise environment. But there's two of them in RAID 1, so I'm not worried if they eventually die. But yeah, they're just hanging out here because you can only put one SSD in the back, and yeah, they're just sitting here. They're SSDs, so I'm not worried about them getting jostled around. So, cable management, and of course you always have to shove your extraneous power supply cable in this little cubby hole, which is fine. So cable management, they're not perfect. I'm sure more expensive cases do it a bit better, but considering I've gone from no cable management to what you see here, I'm pretty darn happy. I still think this looks pretty damn slick. This entire computer has been 100% reliable. I have been so happy and pleased. This Asus X99 Deluxe 2 motherboard, a motherboard that has only 3.5 stars on Newegg because lots of people apparently have reliability issues with them. I've had zero issues with this motherboard. It has been 100% rock solid reliable. I don't know if I've even ever had a blue screen of death. Same with everything else, rock solid reliable. This Radeon R9 390X, rock solid reliable. And the new power supply, the Seasonic Prime GX750, 100% reliable. Really glad I purchased this power supply when it was on sale. But yeah, just everything in this computer has just been working perfectly. These fans have been just a joy. They all work great. And this is the setup I ended up keeping, and it seems to work well. Someday, just because the computer sits in there now, and it's kind of cramped quarters and bad for ventilation, so someday I may buy a fourth one of these fans, move the CD-ROM drive down, and see if I can stick another fan in there just to add a little extra ventilation, because it still gets pretty warm in here, especially, you know, during the extreme cold. I will run folding at home. And this computer generates so much heat that it's literally enough to keep this room warm. Some of the heat leaks out and helps keep the apartment warm. And this GPU folds like a bat out of hell, and it produces more heat than anything else in the computer. So things, even still in this case, tend to get a little bit warm. Nothing like it would have been in the old case. So yeah, just to help it out a bit because of where the computer sits now, I might invest in yet another one of these sickle flow fans from Cooler Master and see if I can stick it up there. Just give it the best chance of keeping itself cool. But yeah, I know I sound like a broken record, but I can't speak enough how absolutely reliable everything here has been and how much I just enjoy using this computer. Of course, my YouTube videos are edited on this. This computer's got multitudes more power than I will ever be able to use, with the exception of when I'm rendering a YouTube video. And boy, being able to render a half-hour YouTube video in 6 minutes with that GPU and this i7 5960X CPU, really, really nice. Oh, and the whole RGB thing with accidentally finding out that this motherboard does not do addressable RGB. The fans thankfully did come with an ARGB controller, which I have buried in the mess of cables down there. It's just... there it is, right there. It's just a little box that the fans connect to, and the box also has a header in it to connect to the reset button on your case, or any button, will work. And so in my case, I just hit the reset button and it cycles through a few presets for what the RGB effects on the fans can do. I just leave it on the default preset because it's the prettiest, where they just cycle through a rainbow pattern. Looks great. I literally don't care if I ever have these fans on an actual ARGB capable motherboard, because I just like the rainbow effect anyway. And we'll show that at the end of the video. Well, I think I've yammered on for long enough. That is the Fractal Design Focus G, the new case for my main computer. This video started 10 months ago, and in 10 months of ownership, I am just so happy. If I could go back in time, I would buy this case again. It has been so perfect for my needs, and I would recommend it highly. Also, the petrol blue color, great choice on my part to buy that color. It looks sick. So thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you back here next time in another video. Bye for now.